I think that you do have resources. And she said, that's your problem. You can't say I'm interested in anything just generally. You have to drill down on what's your core strengths. You will learn to emphasize your strengths. You'll learn what you're good at, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. Hi, this is Joseph Izampuye with Inspire, the podcast where we discuss what makes a successful career and why. Today, we'll be talking about resilience in the workforce, but also resilience just during career search and why that's important. Just for some background about me, I was an English major. I graduated last summer with my Bachelor's of Science in English and a returning student at the U. One of the focuses that I have in talking about resilience is not even resilience like with a career, but resilience during the career search process, because I feel like that in and of itself will throw a lot of curveballs at you. My experience with resilience in terms of finding a career was that after I graduated, I ended up applying for, I think, like 100 different jobs and was told by a lot of them no. Some of that was like my fault. I remember trying okay, I'm going to apply for a career with JP Morgan, even with an English degree, as an investment banker, right? And being told no, and then okay, I think being told no so many times in different jobs, whether it's marketing or finance or investments, it's easy to give up. It's easy to think, okay, I'm never going to find the right career. But I think that's where resilience does have to kick in. Resilience as someone looking for a career, part of it comes from what motivates you. You have the choice between, are you going to give up? Are you just going to stop looking for a job, stop looking for your passion or for whatever interests you in making the world a better place? Or you can, keep going. I think in my case, my resilience, my motivation came from deciding I want to help my family. I think for a lot of humanities students, whether it be English, philosophy, it kind of comes from, as a humanities major, you went into your field because you wanted to make the world a better place. And so resilience is saying, okay, I'm not going to stop when one career says no, or another job offer says no, another job that you applied for says no, because you know your passion, your dreams, what what you want to pursue, and you're willing to endure rejection, endure a ton of no's until you can finally get to the yes that you've been training for this whole time. For me, it was the decision to come back to the U. I was still passionate about English. I was still passionate about wanting to make the world a better place as a writer, but I think there weren't a lot of opportunities available at the time. And so again, I feel like I had the choice of should I double down on my degree, or should I go back to the drawing board? When I decided to become a returning student, to take courses in screenwriting, courses in playwriting, it was a bit of a risk, but I knew that writing was what I was passionate about. I think every humanities major knows that if it's philosophy or politics or English, this is what you're meant to do. When I did come back, I ended up saying, okay, all these jobs that I applied for, I might not have gotten in the first time, but if I apply again with more experience, that might be the key. So I decided to start studying, going to extracurriculars. I joined different clubs like entrepreneurship club, management consulting club, which was fun, writers club, science fiction writing and publishing club. And I think from all these clubs, not only did I gain valuable extracurricular experience for a possible future career, I think I also refined what I was interested in. I became a better writer, a better screenwriter, a better playwriter. I think more opportunities will come from the willingness to decide, okay, I'm not just going to give up and say, okay, I didn't make it, it's time to throw in the towel. I think the opportunities will come from the fact that I said, okay, I know what I want to do, what I'm passionate about. I was willing to take a step back and realize these are my passions, but I'm not as strong as I could be in everything. So let me go back, let me study, let me take new courses, let me learn from new people. And once I was able to do that, I think the future does look brighter. I think I am more prepared and more experienced to be able to kind of apply for new humanities-related jobs. Part of at least what I see as making me resilient, and part of what I think a lot of other humanities students can agree with, is that you are motivated to make things better for your family, better for the people that you care about. I think not losing sight of that is the key thing to keeping yourself on track. You'll endure probably a lot of rejection, but as long as you keep that core intent of wanting to make the world a better place, of wanting to invest time and effort into learning new things, which is I think the core thing with any humanities major. I feel like you'll be able to endure that rejection, go back to the drawing board and figure out your path forward. One other point that I wanted to address was not getting resilience mixed up with functional fixedness, which is this idea in psychology of you try something, it doesn't work, but then you try it again. I didn't make that job at Goldman Sachs. Okay, I'll try another investment bank, JP Morgan. Maybe that's the path forward. I think there is value in persistence. There is value in saying I'm going to keep applying again and again and again until I get this. But resilience isn't just making the same mistakes. It's learning from them. In my case, that was learning like, okay, I have strengths. I have things that I'm not so good at. I'm probably, as a humanities major, not the best investment banker candidate, right? As a humanities major, you're probably not going to be automatically an economist or automatically, a computer engineer. But you do learn from those failures because there might be a lot of jobs that you apply for and didn't fit. You might get a better sense of where you do fit and why. And I think for many people, it might not necessarily be returning to the U, but it might be drilling down on core strengths that you have to figure out what specific jobs that you want to start looking for. Another story was like, I went to a U alumni event last week. I sat across from someone who said, what kind of career do you want? I said, I'm a humanities major, so I'm interested in anything. And she said, that's your problem. You can't say I'm interested in anything just generally. You have to drill down on what's your core strengths. How can you add value to whatever company that you're interested in or that you want to be a part of. I think that some students might get the impression that like they don't have any experience with resilience, or they don't know how to have resilience or how to be more motivated. But I think for any student that's been enrolled in college for the past couple of years, you've already dealt with hardships, with experiences. All of us went through the COVID pandemic together. All of us kind of went through that isolation. Making it through that and coming back to campus, that takes resilience. A majority of college students have experienced failure, at least in some point, pursuing their major. A longitudinal study from the Center for Educational Statistics points out that 30% of students change their major at least once, and 1 in 10 change their majors more than once over the course of their 4 years in college. I think the ability to say, I tried something, I wasn't good at it, I'm willing to change. That's another example of resilience. That's the sort of resilience that students display kind of every day, every year while they're in college. I think that same sort of attitude when you apply it to career search, the willingness to try new things, to explore new things, to try different career paths. I think that's something that will serve you well in career search. How do I learn from rejection, even when feedback isn't necessarily forthcoming? I think for me, the main takeaway was that I realized I still had more to learn. I think in the case of rejection, I realized I didn't necessarily have all the skills that I needed to apply, let's say, for a marketing job. But I also thought it was a good opportunity to be like, okay, I don't have the skills right now. Maybe there's something that I can learn down the line. Maybe I can take marketing courses. Maybe I can meet people. I won't have all the answers right away. And so even if I don't get feedback from an employer that says, the X, Y, and Z is why we didn't hire you, I think that you do have resources. For me, going back to the drawing board, saying, okay, I'm still going to apply for jobs. I'm still going to work hard to find like where I fit in terms of making the world a better place. I decided that I could lean on the U's resources. I started talking with my career advisors. I started going to alumni events and meeting other people. I think that there's an opportunity to learn from fellow students about the value of networking. And that's another thing too, is like you really won't have all the answers right away. You might create a Handshake account and apply for a ton of jobs through Handshake, and then you Google the jobs. And they might not be from the most legitimate company, I think was one mistake I made. You might apply mostly through LinkedIn. And then, you go through a U career event or an alumni event and find out LinkedIn isn't the first place that most employers look for. It's a lot of jobs are found. Like people will hire you more through who you know. People will hire you maybe more from connections. But I think the key thing here is, yes, keep trying, but maybe not always keep trying in the same way. When you fail, you can always turn back towards, if not the career that you applied for, you can always turn back to resources like everyone has here. You can always turn back to resources at the U to figure out how you can improve and what to do better, whether that be through building a better resume than you had before, or taking new courses, maybe making new connections through the alumni networks. I feel like there's always a space to learn as long as you're willing to keep going for it and not give up. I think some of the key things to take away about resilience are, A, you've already been resilient. And as you're making it through the U, you've been through COVID, been through probably changing your major, you're figuring yourself out, And I feel like making it through that process and not giving up, that's already a sign of resilience. And that's the same resilience that you'll need as you go through the career search process. Being willing to apply to things and accept rejection and take that as a learning opportunity, not as a cliche, but legitimately as a learning experience. There's value in that. You will learn to emphasize your strengths. You'll learn what you're good at, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. You'll realize that, You might not necessarily be the best at everything, but you're really good at what you chose to do. I think that's the key that will keep you able to endure rejection, endure every no until you get to yes in terms of a career search. Knowing that the world does need you, knowing that you can make the world a better place still. You will find that job. It just might not be right away. It might not be necessarily the first job that you looked for that you chose, but that if you stick with it, you will find it eventually. Join us next episode where Cameron will be back for another interview. And make sure to follow us on social media at Inspire by Cameron. Thanks for listening.